A cold mist drifts across the Massachusetts countryside. It is dawn. The year is 1775. Somewhere ahead, hidden behind stone walls and trees, armed colonists wait in complete silence. They can hear them before they see them. Boots, hundreds of them, steady, rhythmic, growing louder with every second. The approaching soldiers march in perfect formation, bright red coats, polished bayonets, years of training, the most powerful army on earth. Then the order comes. A line of weapons rises into the air. For a brief moment, everything becomes still. No birds, no wind, no movement. Then the world explodes. A wall of fire flashes through the morning fog. The sound is so violent it seems to shake the ground itself. Smoke swallows the battlefield. Men scream. Officers shout. And within seconds, history changes forever. But what made these weapons so feared? Why did soldiers across Europe, North America, the Caribbean, and India come to respect and fear them? After all, they were slow, they were inaccurate, and by modern standards, they were primitive. So how did one simple musket become one of the deadliest weapons in colonial America? The answer begins long before the American Revolution, and it starts with an empire. At the beginning of the 18th century, Britain faced a challenge every growing empire eventually encounters: distance. Its colonies stretched across continents. Its enemies surrounded it: France, Spain, native alliances, pirates, rival kingdoms, and wars seemed endless. The British Army needed a weapon that could be manufactured in huge numbers, shipped across oceans, survive harsh conditions, and be operated by ordinary soldiers with minimal training. That was harder than it sounds. Many firearms of the era were fragile. Others were expensive. Some were accurate but took too long to reload. Britain needed something different. Not necessarily the most advanced weapon, the most practical one. And that decision would change military history. The answer arrived in the form of a long wooden musket that would later earn an unforgettable nickname: the Brown Bess. No one knows exactly where the name came from. Some historians believe brown referred to the dark walnut stock. Others believe it came from military slang. Either way, the name stuck. Introduced in the early 1700s, the Brown Bess would remain in service for more than a century. That alone is remarkable. For comparison, most modern military rifles become obsolete after only a few decades. Yet the Brown Bess survived countless wars: the War of Austrian Succession, the 7 Years' War, the American Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, and dozens of smaller conflicts across the globe. By some estimates, over 4 million Brown Bess muskets were produced. At the time, that was an astonishing number. The weapon had become more than a firearm. It had become the backbone of the British Empire. But what exactly made it so effective? To answer that, we need to look inside the weapon itself. At first glance, the Brown Bess appears simple: a wooden stock, a long metal barrel, a flintlock mechanism. Nothing extraordinary. Yet hidden inside that simplicity was its greatest strength. The standard Brown Bess measured approximately 58 inches long. That's nearly 5 feet. It weighed around 10 pounds. Its barrel fired a .75 caliber lead ball. For perspective, that projectile was significantly larger than many modern handgun rounds. When fired, the musket used black powder to launch the ball at roughly 1,000 feet per second. Not particularly fast by modern standards, but devastating at close range. The weapon could usually fire 3 to 4 shots per minute in the hands of a trained soldier. That may sound slow today, but during the 1700s, it was considered extremely effective. Loading required several steps: tear open the paper cartridge, pour powder, insert the lead ball, ram everything down the barrel, prime the firing pan, cock the hammer, aim, fire. Every step had to be performed under enormous stress, often while enemy bullets were flying overhead. So why wasn't accuracy the primary goal? Because battlefield tactics were completely different. Soldiers weren't trying to hit a specific individual. They were trying to hit an entire line of men, and that changes everything. The Brown Bess truly revealed its power during large-scale battles. One of the most famous examples came during the Battle of Bunker Hill in 1775. British troops advanced uphill under intense fire. Many carried Brown Bess muskets, fitted with 17-inch bayonets. The battle became one of the bloodiest early engagements of the American Revolution. British forces eventually captured the position, but at a terrible cost. More than 1,000 casualties, a shocking number for the era. Then came Saratoga, Yorktown, dozens of clashes across the colonies, and something remarkable happened. The same weapon was used by both sides. British soldiers carried Brown Bess muskets. American forces captured them and used them against their former owners. The weapon became both the symbol of British authority and a tool of American independence, an irony that few weapons in history can claim. And yet, despite all its battlefield success, the Brown Bess had an obvious weakness: accuracy, or rather, the lack of it. This is where the story gets interesting. Many American frontiersmen preferred rifles. Weapons like the Pennsylvania rifle were dramatically more accurate. A skilled marksman could hit targets at over 200 yards. The Brown Bess struggled beyond about 100 yards. So why didn't Britain simply adopt rifles? Because rifles had their own problems. They loaded slowly. The grooves inside the barrel made reloading difficult. Training requirements were higher. Production costs were greater. Meanwhile, the Brown Bess was faster, simpler, cheaper, and easier to mass produce. In warfare, practicality often beats perfection. The British Army understood this. What mattered wasn't whether one soldier could hit a target at 200 yards. What mattered was whether thousands of soldiers could fight effectively together. The Brown Bess excelled at exactly that. The strengths were obvious: reliability, durability, ease of production, rapid training, fast reload speed, powerful ammunition. But its greatest strength wasn't mechanical, it was psychological. Imagine standing in formation as hundreds of muskets fire simultaneously. The noise is deafening. The smoke is blinding. The shock alone could break morale. Then came the bayonet, and this may have been the weapon's deadliest feature. The standard bayonet transformed the musket into a spear over 6 feet long. Many battles ended before bayonets even made contact. The sight of an advancing line often caused opponents to retreat. Fear became a weapon, and the Brown Bess delivered it in massive quantities. Yet weaknesses remained. Rain could ruin black powder. Misfires were common. Accuracy was limited, and every shot created thick clouds of smoke. Sometimes soldiers literally could not see the enemy after several volleys. Battlefields became chaotic worlds of noise, confusion, and fear. The Brown Bess did more than win battles. It shaped nations. It accompanied British soldiers across the globe. It defended colonies, expanded empires, suppressed rebellions, and eventually helped create the United States itself. Without the Brown Bess, the military history of North America might look very different. Its widespread availability allowed armies to arm huge numbers of troops quickly. Its reliability kept soldiers fighting in conditions where many other firearms would fail. Most importantly, it became the defining weapon of an era. When people imagine 18th century warfare, they are usually imagining the Brown Bess, whether they realize it or not. Today, the Brown Bess is long obsolete. No modern army would use a flintlock musket in combat, yet its influence remains everywhere. The military drill systems developed around it influenced armies for generations. The tactics built around massed musket fire shaped warfare for more than a century. And the industrial production methods used to manufacture millions of Brown Bess muskets helped pave the way for modern military logistics. Very few weapons remain relevant for over 100 years. Even fewer help shape the destiny of multiple nations. The Brown Bess accomplished both Today, most Brown Bess muskets sit quietly behind museum glass. Their wooden stocks are worn. Their metal barrels are dark with age. Visitors walk past them every day. Some barely notice them. And yet those silent artifacts once stood at the center of history. They witnessed empires rise. They witnessed revolutions begin. They witnessed ordinary men face extraordinary moments. From the forests of North America to battlefields across the world, the Brown Bess left its mark on history. It wasn't the most accurate weapon of its age. It wasn't the most advanced. It wasn't even the most innovative. But it understood something that wins wars. Reliability matters. Discipline matters. Numbers matter. And sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't the one with the best technology. It's the one that shows up every single time the battle begins. And for more than a century, that weapon was the Brown Bess.